In this video, we're going to go over how you can work with different structures in Python. So we've gone over basics, we've gone over if-else statements, we've gone over our loops. So we want to actually use that for something. So Python has a couple of different structures we can use that are built into the language. Those are lists, dictionaries, tuples, and sets. And we'll use these in conjunction with loops and kind of on their own as well. So Python doesn't actually have arrays. It has something it calls lists, which is, if you used array list in Java, it's very similar to this. So in Python, we typically declare these directly as literals, so if we want to see what that looks like, we declare names as a list containing 3 values. And when we output that, you see it's exactly what we just did. And they don't actually have to contain the same kind of thing. It's not like how we had sort of typing around lists in Java. When we declare a list, it can contain just about anything in Python. And you can see here, this one is going to have the number 7, and then a list with containing 3, 2, 1, then a string, and then another empty list, and then the value 3.7. To create an empty list, you can also use this list function, which will return an empty list. But typically in Python, you see the declaration of empty lists by using the literal, just the 2 square brackets. So you can supply a parameter to list, but it has to be something that's iterable. So if we pass in word, like s is equal to word, and then we pass in list s, that's actually going to give us a list of W-O-R-D, individual characters in that word. We can also use that to make a copy of a list. So the first list, 1, 2, 3. List copy is going to be a list copy, so we're gonna copy that list into this new variable. And then you can see here we can append to add new elements. So first list, we're going to add 40 and 50, append 40, append 50, and that will add them to the end. And now we can see that this is actually really a copy. If we run this code, list copy hasn't changed, even though we've modified first list. So just like with strings where we access characters, we can do that with lists as well. We use that in, indexing a list works similar to pretty much every other language that uses this kind of structure. List copy 0 is going to give us 1, list copy 2 is going to give us 3, just like we had right here. You can see the values in it are 1, 2, 3. You can also use the len function. You can use that for a variety of purposes, and one of those purposes is getting the number of things that's in a list. And we can use the range function to pre-populate the list. So the older way that the range function used to work, you can still get that functionality by just passing that range generator function into a list. And you can see here, this gives us 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then slices, just the same as they did with strings. We've created this list that has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can kind of see how that's going to work. We're going to get values 3, 4 for using the slice 3 to 5. We're going to get 3, 4, 5, 6 for using the slice 3 to the end. From beginning to 3 is going to give us the slice 0, 1, 2. And then, negative values are going to give us the numbers from the end. So the slice negative 2 to the end is going to give us 5 and 6. And the slice beginning to negative 2 is going to give us 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, there are also some useful methods in our list structures. Clear will clear all of the values. It's kind of self-explanatory. Index will tell us where something is in a particular list. Insert allows us to insert into the list. And for the computer science people out there, that's going to be a big O of n operation. Remove is going to remove the first value, and you will get an error if that's not in your list. Reverse reverses the list, and sort your list. So you can see, you can even find out the details of that algorithm if you click there. But if you clear the list, you can see num list. Once we clear it, now there's nothing in it. It's empty. So that's the notation for the empty list there. Dot index will find a value. So there we go. If we search for our target here, well, that's going to be at index 1. So it's going to be a linear, a sequential search. It's going to take a bit of time. So insert will insert a value. And you can see here, if we insert cols, we're going to insert that at position 1, index 1, so everything else moves out to the right. Again, that's going to be a big O of n operation. Remove is going to remove a value, so if you run this once, we remove target. If we run it twice, well, that's not going to work. So, we can clear that out by just resetting the value here and then running this one again. There we go. Everything's okay. And if we reverse, that's going to give us the list in the opposite order. So it's going to reverse. It's going to actually modify the contents of your list. And sort will sort the contents of your list, which actually we're already sorted there, but if we can kind of execute these selectively. So let's go ahead back up and we'll create this list, and then we'll insert cols into that list, and then if we sort that list, you can see here we get the values in a sorted order. Now, if we want to test membership in the list, you can just use in. You don't have to necessarily use this what was it, index. You can just say, if you want to know, is it there? This will give you true, and this particular value is not in our list, so that will give you false. And you can't really mix the types. Right now, if strings and numbers can't be directly compared. If you run this code, it will it'll actually give you an error. See, like it's what is this? Not supported between instances of string and float. So this actually doesn't work. We would have to comment this out to actually get it to operate. If we run that, there you go. So that works as long as you don't try to sort it. So lists, pretty useful. We're going to use them extensively in Python. Dictionaries work a lot like the hash map in Java. And you have other languages have similar constructs. Basically, a dictionary is created by using curly braces, and an empty dictionary looks just like that. You can also use the dict function, but that's not as common in Python. This is usually a little bit like list and dict. You usually see them just used as literals, so that's the more common way to do it. But once you've created a dictionary, you can add the keys and values easily. You can see here, this is going to give us this sort of associative array, this sort of mapping of a value or a key to a value, and this is what we get when we print that out. And you can actually instantiate it this way. You don't have to do one by one. You don't have to enter each one of these. Like if you're populating a list in Java, or a hash map in Java, you have to add to each one individually. Here you can kind of just declare it from the beginning. And you can see here, these are all the values. Now, we can iterate just like we did with the lists, so we can, iterate for each one of these values. And you can see here, this is going to give us the key. So if we iterate using the for in loop, it's going to give us back the keys, and then we can retrieve those. You can also use dot items to iterate over the key and the value simultaneously. So you can see here, this particular for loop is going to give us a key and a value for each one of these, and then when we print those out, we get the exact same thing. So kind of doing the same thing, it's just now we don't actually have to look each one up individually. So dictionaries also have some methods that we can use, clear, copy, pop, and keys. Clear is going to clear the values from it, so that one's pretty straightforward, does what it says. Copy will give us a copy of the dictionary, though typically what you see to copy a dictionary is the dict function. Pop will remove a key from the dictionary, and then keys will give us a list of the keys, though it's not a deep copy. So if you change the dictionary, it will actually change the contents of that particular resulting list. So if we want to say okay, we get the keys and then we change this particular one or this particular key and we set that, you can see the keys here, for K, this list of things, this dict keys, it also includes Vermont. So we've modified the underlying dictionary. That again, this is not a deep copy. It's actually just giving us a sort of a pointer to that particular list of keys. There's also a values function that operates very similarly. Values, and again, it's going to be that sort of shallow copy or reference to that original list. And then if you want to see a copy here, notice we can separate it using lists. So that's going to give us a copy of state's values. And now if we add Wyoming, we're actually not going to get that one. So because separate values is now its own thing. It's a list of these things that we've retrieved from the dictionary. Now, tuples, they're similar to lists, but the thing is that we can't change it. A tuple is basically kind of a constant. We use parentheses instead of square brackets, and once we create this tuple, it can't be modified. So if we output that, it works exactly the same, as far as the indexing and everything. Works the same as far as the length, but if we try to set one of the values to something else, we're going to get an error. It doesn't like that. You can't do that with a tuple. So, to clear that out, we actually have to clear that particular value. There we go. So you can convert a tuple to a list, and then you can modify it however you like. Once it's a list, you can do anything. So now that's just a plain old list, but you can't modify the contents of a tuple, and you can't modify the tuple itself. So sets are another structure in Python that we might want to use. Sets allow us to, they allow us to test membership, just like a hash set might in Java. It's basically like a dictionary with keys, and Boolean values would be an easy way to simulate a set. But we can just use the set object itself. It doesn't have a literal shorthand, so to create a set, we always use this set function, and then to populate it, we could actually just create, pass something iterable, or pass a list or something to the set when we run that function. So here you can see we're gonna add these, or we're gonna take all of these values. Note that the number 9 and number 1 are in there twice, but a set only has unique values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, which is actually smaller than 1, 7, 9, 2, 1, 3, 4, 9. There are 8 values there, and there are only 6 values here. So you can kind of see how the set automatically removes those duplicates. And like I said before, you can simulate the use of a set as a dictionary. Kind of works. It's just not quite as efficient. You don't have to do it that way. You can use the set. And then sets have a couple of methods as well. We can add to them, we can clear them, we can remove one item from sets. But typically we use the in operator to determine if something is inside of one. So if we have a set and we add all of these different IDs in it, we can see how many unique values we added to that set. And one of those was redundant, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 7 here and here. So you can note there's only 5, even though we added 6 things to the set, there's only 5 elements in that set now. Is something in there? 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, it's there. Is 7 there? Well, no, it's not. So, and then we can kind of use not in as well, so you can kind of see how that works, and then we can clear it, so we have nothing now. And like I said, there's no shorthand, there's no sort of literal notation for a set, so an empty set is just going to give you the function here. So here's a couple of exercises you can try around lists and dictionaries and sets, and check those out. Thanks for watching this video. Next up, we're going to get into, we're going to take a look at functions in Python, and we'll see you then.